In 5 years, the Porsche Club Great Britain Championship, now sponsored by BF Goodrich, has grown to become Britain's biggest single-mark production racing series. In 1989, all competitors run exclusively on Goodrich tyres. The action-packed calendar took in 13 rounds at 9 different circuits, and there was no shortage of action. We join round 2 at Snetterton, as off the course there goes 277 Anthony Peplow. Peter Tyson and Bob Watson were charging hard, trying to catch Paul Edwards, who was looking for his first season victory with the 3-litre Carrera. Championship newcomer Ty Watkins has a spectacular exit here. Thankfully, the driver emerges unscathed. Edwards clinched Class C and the fastest lap in this battle from Tyson, Watson and Hilliard. Graham Leask takes the Class D honours and gets the kiss from Peggy Hyder and the Laurels. Meanwhile, we move on to Classes A and B.
I hear this excuse because
you really want to know the truth?
It won't be. It's a new one. Jerry Marshall won't have used this one. I know that.
Well, what it was, Barry. See, there's you, and Tony, and Bill, and Brands Hatch was so easy. I thought, you know,
saw that.
Let's try and make a race of it.
Saw that. Yeah.
So we didn't qualify in the first session. We've qualified in the second, which means they're going to sit me at the back of the grid with a 10-second penalty. And I've got 12 laps to make it up.
One man who doesn't intend to make anything up is Tony Dron with the mighty AFN 928. Pole position after a great second place in the opening round at Brands. As they get away, however, his start isn't as quick as he hopes. It's the experienced hand of Bill Taylor who takes the lead at the first corner. The field files through, and there's still a tight battle going on with Taylor at the head of it as they go round the second right-hander and down towards the Essex. Taylor still in charge, Pete Clark behind him, and going very hard Tony Dron. Barry Williams well up, but still an enormous amount of traffic for Millard to force his way through. Through come the top 4 still in the same order. We wait for Millard. Already he's making his way through the traffic. Millard putting on a splendid performance. But slowly but surely pulling away is Bill Taylor. Behind him, still going hard, is Pete Clark, and Barry Williams also showing well. Now Millard has got rid of most of the traffic. Can he catch up with the leading group? In the closing stages, he was hard on the tail of Tony Dron. He looked at the inside, it wasn't on. In car now with Dron as Millard makes his charge. Through on the inside and then throws it away.
Thanks, Chris.
And so Dron inherits the place and gets rid of the pressure. And 45 years old Bill Taylor takes his first win for 13 months.
I think so. Well done.
You came fourth, didn't you?
Yeah.
Bloody great.
I just got by.
I could see you and I thought,
through here and into Rich's, and Johnny went a bit wide on the second apex. I thought, I got him up back. So I've like shot down the inside and tried to outbrake him. I can't, can I? I've gone, woo! I thought, oh, hang on in a minute. Nothing happened, and they've all driven through, and I'm still in gear and going. So I've like pushed in the first and like, and come after you. But
Pete Clark, Paul Edwards and Brian Robinson were all winners at Oulton Park as we moved on to Donington, where once again Robinson dominated Class D with Jamie Maserati taking second place. A mammoth 28-car field for the Class C battle on the Sunday sees a great start with David Lease taking the lead. Tight in behind him is Bob Watson at Redgate. And then it's Colin Knoll with a 924, showing he was going to be a real threat all the weekend. In the kerfuffle at Redgate, Peter Tyson has a tyre deflating. Graham Clark has a big moment, and Stephen Smythe and Andy Monaghan have to take evading action. Meanwhile, at the end of lap 1, it's a really tight battle for the lead. Side by side, the 2 leaders coming into the chicane, Mike Walker in 3rd place behind Watson and Lees. Colin Mole, meanwhile, gives a little help to his friend. Dave Horsley is the victim. Walker now closes on Lees and takes the advantage. Paul Edwards is desperately trying to make up ground. Behind the leaders, he provides some excitement. Indeed, it's a real heart-stopper. Here, he totally outbrakes himself in an effort to get alongside Walker and heads off up the escape road. Halfway to Birmingham, he turns back again. Malcolm Sargent has a big moment in 237, while Jersey resident Hubo Jones finds the limits of his 911E, and skiwear supremo Paul Goenstein joins in. That's what happens when you brake when cornering. So it was Watson, the 40-years-old Porsche preparation expert, that took the victory from Lees, and both were pleased with their performance that day.
Peter Tyson got a better start than me, but David, I don't know where he got it from, but he just came powering past me. It took me, I think, 2 laps to actually get past him. There were certain places on the circuit I was much quicker than him. He made a mistake out the back, I think going into the old hairpin. I managed to close right up on him and he made another mistake. I just took the chance and went through.
A good chance, well taken. You're enjoying your Porsche racing?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, I think Class C is the best one out of the whole lot. The number of cars that are entered is fantastic. They're all very closely powered, and it's a very nice bunch of people. And that was probably the cleanest race this year, and we're all out there to enjoy ourselves. So it's a fantastic series.
With over 30 years service, almost in charge of a gold watch, Barry Williams in pole position, with Banks's 944 Turbo alongside, followed by Clark, Taylor, Dron, Millard, Payne and Harvey, with a second between them. And that's got to be close. 10 seconds later, it's the B-class leaving, with Kevlin well ahead of Robinson, Davies, Keith Russell, John Fletcher, and the rest of the pack. A little further back, it's Valentine Lindsay who has the spin. In car with Long Dron, Tony to his friends, in the AFN 928. Here we see the superior power of Millard. Martin Harvey also makes his play. Tony just about staying in touch, which is more than could be said for anybody else in Class B, staying in touch with Kevlin, who's now firmly in the lead there. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead continues. Clark gets the tail out of line, gets it back again, and still tries to close on Williams, tries to get through on the inside, but can't quite make it, worrying him like a dog with a bone all the way down the straight. And the big surprise, just how well that 944's going too, with Dron really finding his work cut out here. The dust is raised, and Williams is back in front, as up comes Millard to make his move. It's a wide sweep in for Millard, Williams still holding off Clark, and Millard still scrabbling for grip. Down through the Craner curve, through the old hairpin, and still Williams very much in charge. At 50 years old, he's just as formidable a competitor now as ever. Now up to third place, a big surprise. It's the 944, and going well too in the hands of Chris Banks, while well back today is Bill Taylor. It's a side-by-side battle, and the last of the late breakers here is Williams, who comes through to take the lead at the chicane. A firm third for Banks, but a man in trouble and falling back all the time is Chris Millard. Side by side once more into Redgate Corner. Williams making use of all the road and making it as difficult as possible, all quite fair. Once again, the last of the late breakers, Barry Williams, this time outbreaks himself and ends up all over the grass. He throws away 2 places. Now, can he come back and snatch away at least second? To salvage second place, a formidable task as they go down through the Craner curves once more.
The exit of the chicane there, and that enables both of the other
Kevlin
cars in
going
the
beautifully, well and truly in charge, and not likely to be headed by anyone. And Williams makes his bid and snatches back and salvages second place. It's clear the reason why Millard fell back. A lot of rather expensive looking smoke. But while the smoke goes on, it's a smoky battle out there, and Williams, try as he might, can't ease his way back into the lead. It's Pete Clark who comes up to take the flag. Williams second, Banks third, John fourth, Taylor fifth, and Kevlin making it 2 Class B wins ahead of Brian Robinson. And now we move to Zandvoort. This well-established and popular venue in the championship was conceived during the Second World War. It's seen, of course, the Dutch Grand Prix in the past. Sadly, no more.
Well, I personally like circuits that go sort of up hills and down dales, and Zandvoort is fantastic. You know, sort of just going up and down the dunes, and it really gets the adrenaline pumping, because down the straight there, you know, you're sort of clocking, I don't know, 140 mile an hour, and there's a 180-degree right-hand turn at the end of it. So it really, you know, you just keep going and going until, you know, you run out of road to brake. So.
After which, Peter went out to demonstrate the point. 2 races in each class here, each of 15 laps, with classes C and D running together and A and B. Plenty of time for competition on this daunting Dutch circuit. The C and D cars open the proceedings. A spectacular sight with Edwards just ahead there of Watson, Lees and Tyson. The blue 924 Turbo of Colin Mole well up, ahead of John Chappell's MTB 911. As the field swept through Tarzan, the Class D battle was headed by Lees from Robinson, Maserati, with next up John Edward 323 tucked in behind. In the first race, Watson got the move ahead of Edwards and stayed there. He went on to a great win with the 2 of them pulling away from Lees, Tyson, Horsley and Mole. But on the second heat, Edwards got his revenge. He left Lees to scrabble with Watson and Tyson, lap after lap. The 911Es trying everything they knew, but very evenly matched. As at Snetterton, there was a big accident. Ray Henson tumbled his 911 into the barrier. Thankfully, due to the legendary strength of the car, he was unhurt in this accident. John Edwards' attempt to join the battle for Class D between Lees, Robinson and Maserati almost ended up in disaster. So at the end of the heat, Edwards took victory, followed by Watson and Lees. Meanwhile, Graham Lees avenged his Donington defeat in great style, having beaten Robinson. For Henson, there was a lot of hard work to do before the next race to his car. Once again, the action was fast and furious in Class A. The first heat saw Millard with the rejuvenated car holding off Williams. Banksweller, Clark, Gray and Taylor all there in contention. And Brown Robinson in his Class B car ahead of Kevlin too. The Birmingham jeweller looked to have the measure of Williams on this particular circuit. But Barry was never a man to give up easily. Nevertheless, he could do nothing about Millard, whose 3 rounds so far had seen only 8 points on the board. Chris was a much happier man after that first round at Zandvoort. For Tony Dron, the round had been a disappointment. The car was well down on power, and he was far from happy in the second part of the race. Albeit the superb brakes on the 928 allowed him to steal back 2 places here, briefly into third. Then it was all one way, down the field as far as he was concerned. A driver's view of the twists and turns of Zandvoort. Williams here was pushing Millard for all he was worth, throwing the car around with desperate abandon. These 2 had easily outdistanced the opposition, led here by Pete Clark, behind him Bill Taylor, and then it's Robin Gray. Steve Kevlin was well up, as John was well back. And soon, Tony was looking for relief from his suffering. The car was getting slower and slower. There was nothing he could do. On this occasion, it was a question of head for the pits and watch the rest of the race. And what a race up ahead it turned out to be. On paper, it should have been a very easy victory for Millard. But Williams was just having one of those days. And as John returned to comparative peace, the battle out front for the lead in the second part of the race went to Williams after a desperate fight. He had given it everything. The burning question, as far as everyone else was concerned, was he going to stay with the championship year long? Richard Hay asked him about this in the paddock after the race.
You'll be doing the rest of the season now, presumably?
Yes, they've asked me to drive the car for the rest of the season. I think we're a little bit behind to catch up and win a championship, but I think Steve Kevlin's probably got that wound up already. But it's nice. It's a nice, steady drive, and it's a nice car. It's nice to be able to sort out these tyres somehow, are they? These are very good, actually.
By now, Steve Kevlin had 3 class wins. So how was he feeling about his season?
We were just talking to Wizzer a moment or two ago, and he was saying, you know, I don't think I'll ever win the championship. That man Kevlin's got it all sewn up.
Well, I don't think that's quite right, actually, because at the moment I think it looks like it's going the way of Class D.
But you don't, I mean, the way that things have been going so far, it could very easily be your championship, couldn't it?
I'd like to think so, yeah. I mean, we've worked hard at it, but the competition is tight from other classes, but also from within our class. Brian Robinson is very quick, and he's going to give me a hard time wherever we go.
Aggregate in Class A, Millard, Williams and Taylor. In Class B, Kevlin, Serge Davis and Morrow and Drenning. Yes, and Drenning. By the time they came to Snetterton on the 17th of June, they'd already been to Donington, with Williams taking a win there. Robinson had beaten Kevlin, and Paul Edwards and Graham Leith had polished off C&D. But it's the C&D 38-car capacity grid that we watch now away from the start. Edwards had qualified on pole and took an early lead. Tucked in behind him, however, is Peter Tyson. No last of the late breakers here. The 924 contingent has Dave Simpson leading Charlton. And the 356 is still competitive. Trevor Messett is just in front of Caroline Lucas. But at the S's, Tyson snatches the lead. Behind him still Edwards, and Dave Horsley, who's a butcher by the way, goes a mowing. Or should we say, a mowing? Peter Tyson in sparkling form here. And he's ahead of Edwards, Watson, Mole and Swinhoe. And Leask still holding off Robinson. Now Swinhoe lines himself up for a big effort on the inside of Mole, but can't quite make it and has to follow him through the corner. As the leader comes through, behind that battle's getting very serious, with some gentle leaning going on. At Russell, Robinson has got himself ahead of Leask. And Leask seems to have a problem. At Coram, Horsley, who is fast recovering, is really having a scrap now with Kevin Joyson, and the pair of them right behind Paul Goldstein here. And now Edwards is trying to get ahead of Tyson. And Tyson firmly closes the door. And here is Pinky Ballard. Coming into Russell ahead of Mike Walker, while in the background, Leask heads towards the pits with a deflating front tyre. Malcolm Sargent here, very nearly lost his stripes as he goes off the road to do some dusting. Edwards is now leading Tyson, however. Ballard, on the other hand, has a big moment here which could have turned out much worse. It's Edwards, however, who takes the checkered flag for the 5th time. From Tyson, Watson and Lees. While in Class D, Robinson had an easy victory, following the demise of Graham Lees. Jamie Maserati was next up. John Collins, Peter Chatham, John Edwards and Trevor Massett made it the top 6. Barry Williams lines up in pole position for the A and B race, hoping to maintain that winning form from Donington Park a week or so ago.
All right.
Time will tell whether he can do it. Chris Millard's season has been a dreadful one. 2 wins and a mixture of retirements and disasters.
This is a fat man's way of getting in.
Well, whether he's a fat man or not, he's certainly got the heart for it. With Banks and Taylor completing the front row, the other man to watch out for was Robin Gray. Bill Taylor and Pete Clark were well up. Class B leader Kevin on the 3rd row, but the focus on what was going to happen at the start was looking to see whether or not the 9 to 8 might out-accelerate or out-brake them to the first corner. John, in determined mood, makes a tremendous start. But coming up fast on the inside, a tremendous move here by Millard. In he comes, locking up to snatch the lead. The huge queue of cars sees James Martin and Mark Littlejohn go on. Kevlin was on the grass. This is what happened to him. The replay sees him bunted off, corrects the car from an almost sideways position and takes off some considerable distance behind. The S is dealt with. Millard throws the car into Coram. Williams celebrating some 25 years since he won the Welsh Rally at the top of his form, however. Real on-the-limit motoring here. The battle behind well worthwhile watching. Robin Gray hanging on to 3rd place. And Kevlin recovering fast as he tries to force his way through the field. He's already made a considerable amount of progress. Paul Loads goes through in 1:04, and 1:17 is Peter Bowen. Further into the race, and the battle still ranging up ahead. Williams coming into the corners a little bit quicker, but having to give way to the extra grunt of the more powerful car ahead of him coming out of the corners. Millard using his power to considerable advantage. Notice how unspectacular Williams is in this car. Not so as in previous years. Robin Gray still hanging on to 3rd place here, with John right behind him. Number 6, Martin Harvey. And we wait now to see Steve Kevlin, who's really forced his way through and is back at the head of the class. In car once again. Kevlin gathering yards in under braking. Smooth progress out of the corner, using all the road. Another change down, galloping up onto the cars in front and preparing to have a fair go down the straight. Still going hard in front, it's Millard. Williams behind him in 2nd place, determined not to let him go. Tony John really giving it everything he's got and staying ahead there of Chris Banks. On the tail of that group, it's Clark. Still the leading battle rages, and Williams has yet to find a way by the flying car up ahead. A few changes behind. Up has come Tony John, back has gone Robin Gray. Meanwhile, Des Winks now under heavy pressure as closing in on him is Kevlin. We see the movement from inside the car. The last of the late breakers on the inside. Yes, he makes it. Just behind Winks is Valentine Lindsay. And Lindsay here just about to get it all wrong. Almost gets collected by a couple more cars as well, in a spin reminiscent of his father in the cockpit of a Spitfire. Paul Loads now provides us with a big moment. I've no doubt he wondered if it ever would stop. Meanwhile, out front, let's see what's happening as Williams once again tries to get in touch. Loads rejoins, perilously close to this leading pair. Whatever Millard did, Williams tried to match it. The burning question was, could he get ahead? By now these two had really taken the race and made it their own. All eyes were on this battle. Williams looking for the inside, thinking about it, but then changing his mind, not quite close enough. John pushing hard and trying to make some ground here. Williams on the inside into the S's, snatches the lead. On power, however, it may well be that it's going to be snatched back again at any minute. Right on the limit, both cars. The Goodrich tyres digging into the tarmac there and giving them all the necessary adhesion. Meanwhile, David Lloyd takes a closer look at them. That is, those protecting the circuit. Out in front, however, the battle is well and truly joined, with everybody going in the same direction. And this time Millard is back in front, with his back bumper perilously close to the front of Williams's car. Behind them, the order is Taylor, then Terry John, Banks and Clark next up. And once again, Barry Williams is making a huge effort on the inside. He's just ahead, they just brush each other, and on the inside still, holding them off, is this tremendous effort now as we go through the right-hander and under the bridge by Chris Millard, who hangs on to the lead. Williams tries to come back, the car weaves, it's corrected, and a little time is lost. It's the battle to the flag between these two, and the slower car perhaps gives Williams the chance to think that he might be able to get alongside. But Millard is too old a hand to get caught like this. Keeping well out of the way, as well he might, is Des Winks, as across the line goes Millard to win from Williams. Chris takes his third win, with Taylor, John, Banks and Pete Clark in the next places.
It's a bit like having a race with Tiff again, like last year, because Barry can outbrake me by maybe 20, 30 yards, maybe 50 yards in certain parts. So all I can rely on is a bit more grunt with the turbo down the straight, you know, so he makes you work all the rest of it, you know, he's right on your bumper all the time. And a few times he went past, and a few times I got back past him, and I think he was playing with me for a couple of times and thought, you know, like, I'm just sussing out where he could actually pass me. But when he passed me with 3 laps to go, I thought, I can't have this again, I'm not going to have second again. So we sort of went into the chicane side by side, did a bit of curb hopping, and luckily I came out better off. And in the last lap it was just holding the curbs and making sure there was nowhere for him to go. But it was a good race, great fun to do. Lovely weather. Congratulations. Good old Goodrich tyres, lasted marvellous. Great.
It was a 4th win for Steve Kevlin, making it quite an event as far as he was concerned, and suggesting that perhaps Barry Williams' prediction might come true. In late August, the cars moved to the beautiful Irish circuit at Phoenix Park, but not before Millard had taken another win at Castle Coo, where the other winners were Kevlin, Robinson and Edwards. The 2.1-mile picturesque Irish circuit at Phoenix Park with a young lady who's not quite sure what to do next. Away from the flag, however, a tremendous start for Keith Norman. The traffic jam on a road that begins to narrow, and still Norman holding off Tyson. Both of them on the point of locking up, but somehow or other they just about get away with it. As the track narrows, however, Tyson has got out ahead. Horsley bears a scar of battle already. Behind, also well up there, is 231, Mike Clapham. Still, Tyson leads. All but touching the curb there. And Tyson bouncing the front end through the narrow, bumpy track here at Phoenix Park. David Bowden leaves his braking too late here and takes Paul Hogarth off. Away from the underwriter's tears it's Peter Tyson who comes up to take the checkered flag. In the race the following day, once again it's a replay with Norman in the lead as they come through the chicane. It's a rather unyielding affair with concrete blocks, and here's the Irish way of doing it. Stephen Smythe takes a good look and decides that he doesn't want to know. It didn't seem to make him much ground, however. Once again, it's a battle for the lead between Tyson and Norman, and this time it's Tyson who's having to do the following. A strong effort here on the inside, a gentle brush of paintwork perhaps, and Tyson is in front. And that's where Peter Tyson stayed to the end of that race. Not before, however, Andy Monaghan was finding it difficult getting to grips with his 911E. With Tyson the winner, we come to the Class A event and into the first corner. In car with Tony Dron. In front of him, Mike Jordan, the 1988 championship winner in Class A, overdoing it here and catching himself up there in a wild spin that impedes certainly for one Pete Clark and doesn't help Barry Williams much. So disappearing into the distance is Millard, and this is the battle for second, third and fourth places. And here Williams trying to get through into second and just about succeeding with John in fourth. Closing here on Robinson at quite a high velocity. Just getting adhesion is the name of the game. Williams there gets too much wheel spin, past his Robinson, and John is almost alongside. Nigel Rice, meanwhile, wishes he'd done it right as he comes off the pavement here. Now past Williams on the straight goes the flying John, up hard onto the tail of Robinson, but Williams outbreaks him on this occasion. All three cars right on the limit. A touch of dust there from Robinson's car as Williams now is right behind him. Robinson, however, in a safe second, Williams third and John fourth. John now looking to see if there's any way by, through the chicane. Williams slightly the quicker of the two in the more nimble RS there, but now the power of the 928 beginning to tell. Suddenly John is up alongside and away. He still has sight of second placeman as he comes down through the box under heavy braking, with Williams galloping up onto his tail once more. Next up is number 11, Robin Gray. And Williams makes the effort on the inside and just scrabbles through. So it's Williams up to third place behind Robinson, and in the lead Millard. And it's Millard who comes through to take the checkered flag. The weather a trifle more spiteful on the second day, as Millard this time gets crossed up under braking as he comes into the corner, and Williams shoots through on the inside. Robinson spins, makes for a few more delays. Norman has recovered well, and run up there too is Bill Taylor. Williams in the lead, bearing down on him at a considerable pace, Chris Millard. And this time it's Barry who goes wide. But he still holds on to that lead and repeats the performance at the next corner. Onto the pavement, off again, Millard retakes the lead, Ron is behind him, and if you can't beat them, drown them is the order of the day. Now Millard in front, John on the inside with Williams looking for a way by and getting on the outside of the corner there, taking the maximum line in, and tries to come out hard on the tail of the 928. This is 101, Brian Robinson, trying to hold on to the lead of the class, but not for much longer. Steve Kevlin right behind him. Kevlin collects it together, gets it very sideways, keeps the power on, and is in the lead of the class once more. Mauro Andretti with a lot of debris on the back of the car there. And another exciting moment here, as number 4, Bill Taylor, is really being pushed very hard by Barry Robinson. Andretti has a big moment once again. Just about collects it as 112 Hugh Price also does the wrong thing. Millard in the lead and looking as if he's intending to stay there. Behind, however, it's a different story. Dron is under heavy pressure, and pressing on Barry Williams, who's pressurising Dron, is Jordan. Jordan and Williams set out to dislodge Dron. Williams on the inside brushes his paintwork for him and takes away his place, while Jordan loses a place in his efforts to make his quick entry. Now Dron is on his own, with Jordan just coming past him there to retake that place. There's little that Tony can do at this stage. Except, of course, to spin it and lose another place. So the Swinford Motors Porsche, and once again, Chris Millard set off towards the flag. And now a replay of what happened to Tony Dron. A gentle little nudge by Robin Gray, and it was all over for him. And once again, Millard setting out towards victory. Now the interest in Barry Williams once again as he tries to fight off the charge that's going on here from Mike Jordan, and doesn't succeed. Kevlin, spectacular as always, is getting on with his task. And Millard has already taken the flag to celebrate yet another victory. A non-point scoring round at the Birmingham Super Prix. 26 Porsches from 3 classes. And Millard once again the man to watch on what is very much his own home ground. Williams too, however, feels that he has a chance here. Mike Jordan, last year's winner, also wants to get into the act, and so does Robin Gray. But spare a thought for Tony Dron. The big 9-8 round here, a tremendous handful, and he's putting on a terrific performance. Really spectacular motor racing from the Porsches here in Birmingham, and Kevlin going hard and well. Up the hill on the fastest part of the course, and still Millard holding sway at the moment. Williams has a good tight look down below there as we look down upon the cars. And here Kevlin right in the middle of the action, trying to find a way through. Now Barry is closing hard and trying to catch up with the leader. Dron is not so far behind, and they're all on the ragged edge. Up 2 into contention has definitely come Mike Jordan, and it is he now who is battling it out with Williams for 2nd place. Dron still in 4th place, and these 3 now tending to open up a gap between themselves and the 9-8. Williams holds on to 2nd place as Dron goes through there in 4th. He needs to be closer if he's to apply pressure up ahead there to Millard, hoping perhaps that the local man will make a mistake. Porsches spread out all the way around the circuit. A fine battle going on here in the Class B section. Still ahead, it's Robinson, and definitely trying to make ground by trying every way he knows is Kevlin. The victim here, 114, Paul Phillips. And Phillips hanging on in there, locking a break in his efforts. The Birmingham circuit is totally unyielding. One mistake and you'll touch that Armco, which could be disastrous. All but doing it there is Kevlin. Following a huge effort by Paul Phillips to displace Robinson, it all comes to no good for him, as this time he overdoes it and spins away his chances. Fortunately, without collecting anything solid. Meanwhile, it's a fine performance here and a lot of pressure being applied by number 6, Martin Harvey. Williams, however, desperately trying to get past the leader. Blue flag out as they scythe their way through back markers, but still Chris Millard holding on in there. There is absolutely nothing to choose between them, but nowhere that Williams can force himself through. A slightly wider line there by Williams as they come out into the tight left-hander. And here power is not really a tremendous advantage, but nevertheless Millard can afford to drive at the speed of the opposition. Gauging his performance to Williams, he comes up to take the checkered flag after a superb drive. It's his 6th race win of 1989. Round 11 of the championship at Silverstone on the club circuit, including the challenging new loop, before which we talk to Jeff May, Chief Executive of the Motorsport Division of Porsche Car Club, Great Britain.
Talking of the championship this year, have you been pleased with the way it's gone as regards the tyre situation?
Excellent, absolutely first class. The tyre situation has been absolutely superb this year. There's no argument whatsoever about it.
In general, do you think that the competitive nature of the championship is something that's going to go on further into the future? Is it going to get tighter, and do you think there's a risk of it becoming less of a club series as a result, or do you think there's no problem with that?
I think in a way it's possibly, we could say, it's going to become less of a club series, but you know, there's only one way to go. When you've got a situation that's going on the way that this championship, you cannot stand still. We've got to think forward, we've got to go forward, and I still think from the point of view of the club, providing we spread around the availability of Porsche racing for those who want to be involved with it, then we can make the menu right. But certainly the championship, I think, has got to continue to go on upwards.
So what are the views of Yorkshireman Pete Clark, a stalwart of the championship for quite a long time?
The series, I think, this year has been really competitive in the top of Class A. But my problem is that, as you know, I do aerobatics, and that sort of takes me away for quite a few weekends of the year.
Yeah, talking of aerobatics, it must be a bit different getting from an aeroplane into a racing car, because some weekends you do the two together, don't you?
Well, I did once, but I shan't do that again. That was the Snetterton weekend, and then I went straight from Snetterton and did Coningsby Air Show. But that's too much to do. You can't do it.
You have to concentrate. Well, obviously you concentrate hard on planes, but do you need to sort of psych yourself up? Is there a lot of preparation you need?
Yeah, for flying. Yeah. I mean, I practice every day to do aerobatics. I do a 20-minute practice session, like every day.
Really?
Even when it's windy like this, because it's no good just practicing on fine days, because you're going to get an air show that's got poor weather.
What sort of G-forces do you experience in the plane?
Well, I used to be 6 foot.
The Class C race was first up at Silverstone. Peter Tyson had planted his 911E on the front row, alongside Paul Edwards. And 26 years old Colin Mole, in his 924 Turbo, was happily completing the front row. Phil Swinhoe was well up in only his 2nd season of racing in one of Pete Clark's prepared cars, while architect Keith Norman was well up too. Next were Watson, Horsley and Wayne Ferguson. Red lights are on to green, and a superb start here by Edwards. Mole 2 pacing him in the 924 Turbo as they come down towards Copse Corner. Tyson has a look at the inside, but hasn't got quite enough power to get up there with them. And it's Edwards who takes the lead from Mole. Tyson in 3rd place on a tight line. Edwards was clear by the time they got to Brooklands Corner. And Tyson dived inside Mole here. A tight moment, nicely sorted out, with nobody going on the grass at this stage. So still Edwards in the lead. A good effort here by Tyson. Then it's Keith Norman also ahead of Mole, and a big challenge to him now from Bob Watson. Watson takes a tighter line, and as Mole puts a couple of wheels on the curb, comes through. This was to provide the feature battle of the race. Watson came through very quickly indeed, almost too quickly. Threw it all away, ended up on the grass, and lost himself 2-3 places here as he spins his chances off. Malcolm Sargent conducted his Porsche off with a big moment here as he tried to get past Graham Clark. Mike Clapham, Bob Mason and Tony Peplow had to take evasive action. The Edwards-Tyson battle raged on, but Edwards was well and truly in charge as they went into their last lap. Past the pits and away up towards Copse Corner. Into the braking area, and Edwards still keeping that distance the same between them. Meanwhile, Colin Mole had moved back up again to third place. Behind him was Wayne Ferguson and Mike Walker. And another man making a big comeback at this stage and trying very hard indeed was Keith Norman. Here on the tail of Ray Hansen. By now, however, the race was run. No question about Edwards' control. Up he came towards the checkered flag. A fine drive and a fine win. Before the Class B race, Steve Kevlin and Graham Lease told us what they thought of Brian Robinson.
You haven't got enough film in your camera for me to tell you. I have learned a tremendous amount from Brian. His racecraft, his dirty tricks that nobody else sees, just a wonderful source of inspiration to me. And it's been a great privilege to beat him a few times.
He's very competitive, he tries very hard, but he's very fair. And I've had a couple of very close scraps with him, and there's never any hint of bodily contact, and no, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I won't say it's fun being behind him, but you can learn from it.
0.3 of a second faster than Kevlin in practice, it's Peter Bowden who takes an early lead away from the start. Into Copse Corner, Bowden's certainly determined to stay there. Serge Davis squeezes in as well, and squeezed back there now to fourth place as in comes John Fletcher, and David Warnock also right up there as well, is the unfortunate Kevlin. Kevlin about to find his way past the 27-years-old Warnock. In the lead, however, Bowden looks as if he might be getting away. Momentarily, Kevlin drops back behind Fletcher, and Vic Ferguson, headed by leader Brian Robinson of his class, and Lease are only inches behind each other, trailed by Jamie Maserati. Kevlin now sets about Serge Davies. Comes in quickly, slides a bit wide, and loses all the places that he's gained. He's offline as he comes into the second part of Woodcote Corner, and charging up behind him comes John Fletcher.
They are joining battle for second, as out in front, Peter Bowden in the red 911 comes into the chicane. Peter Bowden.
Fletcher provides all the pressure in the world, but Kevlin is determined to get his place back. Lines himself up behind Davies and dives for the inside as they come into Copse Corner. Fletcher tries to follow suit. Paul Phillips is also going well there in 114. Now right behind the leader and making life difficult for him, Peter Bowden knows what Kevlin's all about. It's almost identical in manoeuvre except for the traffic to the last time. Through on the inside, outbreaks and into the lead of the race. Kevlin then dominating the situation as expected. In third place, John Fletcher, unable really to do anything much about it. A back marker has to be dealt with, but still Kevlin very much dominating the proceedings. Kevlin out onto the straight, down towards the new Woodcote Corner. Meanwhile, 309, David Simpson explores the limits of adhesion and finds that he doesn't know quite what they are. While there's all sorts of mayhem down as they come in towards Brooklands. David Warnock is in the middle of it, so is Vic Ferguson. And so here is another situation which sees Kevlin closing up on Caroline Lucas. Stephen Smythe there in 313 thought he could get through on the inside, but finds out differently. The leader passes the 356A Carrera. Into Beckett's, brakes and changes down for the last time, having got things well in hand in the class and in the race. Meanwhile, we talk to Bill Taylor about his season.
Well, I think the whole thing this year is more professional, and there's certainly a higher standard of driving. At the last race, there was only 1 second separating 9 cars, and that's pretty close. It's as close as it's been.
To what extent do you think tyres have made the difference?
Well, obviously the control tyre situation is largely responsible, I think, for closing up the gaps, and from that point of view, I'm very pleased about that too.
Robin Gray gives us away. Barry Williams is in pole position, and here's a man with problems. It's Chris Banks with a 944 turbo, not too sure whether it's a wheel or a hub. A bit of creeping at the start. We look inside now, once again, the 928 of Tony Dron, who's getting well and truly left here. Nevertheless, he uses the superb brakes to good effect to nip back at least 1 place. In front of him, however, is an awful lot of work to do. But Williams, we can see, is under pressure. He's got the inside line, but Robin Gray is trying to come round the outside. And in the middle of all this, there's a desperate manoeuvre by Barry Robinson to get through that goes all wrong. He's very sideways and it sets off a chain reaction. Bill Taylor gets himself tangled up in that a bit, but there's no real harm done. Williams once again trying to keep the door closed, and Gray determined to try and force it open. But out from nowhere has come the big threat, and it's Chris Millard. Millard suddenly in 3rd place and champing at the bit to get himself up into 2nd. Behind, hub trouble or not, is Chris Banks. And Williams determinedly is holding off the opposition. Catching Barry is one thing, passing him is something entirely different. For Tony Dron, the gesture says it all. He can do it all under braking, but he's totally lacking in power. A disappointing day for Tony. Williams at his best. He's lost the lead, he wants it back again, and this is the way he takes it. Beautifully judged on the inside. All the road, but none of the grass, and comes out with a tight line to take through this part of Woodcote, but keeps the door firmly closed and makes no mistakes. Gray, trying to close the gap, gets a little bit out of line, and Barry gets the power down a little better as they go through Woodcote proper and through the chicane. The scene of so many of Williams' triumphs, Barry Williams sets off as we watch Dron once again struggling hard and deciding that discretion is the better part of valor and take it in the pits. Meanwhile, for one time, we've got Millard under pressure. Pressing him all the way is number 22, Barry Robinson. And all on his own at the moment, still going well, is Chris Banks. Behind Banks is Bill Taylor. But Williams has got this very nicely under control, thank you very much. Flicks the tail out in a beautifully controlled power side to take the checkered flag. The BF Goodrich Porsche Car Club of Great Britain Porsche Championship has been an immense success. We asked the opinion of Peter Bolbeck at London's Motor Fair on Porsche's stand. He, of course, is the managing director of Porsche Great Britain.
We don't like to be seen to be up there, up front, being too involved with it, because after all it is a club activity and we don't want to impinge on that. But yes, we do enjoy a very good relationship with the club. We do enjoy very much the benefits of what the championship brings us.
On a personal level, you're obviously very interested. You attend a lot of the meetings.
I must admit that there's very few places I'd rather be than at a BF Goodrich round, because not only is the racing good, but the company is the best you'll find as well.
The final round of the championship was at Thruxton. And here, Steve Kevlin takes the checkered flag for the last time in 1989 to take, of course, not only his class, but the championship as well. The provisional results see Kevlin as overall champion, with second Brian Robinson and third Barry Williams. Class-wise, the positions look like this. Williams with a 24-point lead over Millard, Taylor, Dron, Robin Gray, and Chris Banks and Pete Clark equal 6th in Class A. In Class B, Steve Kevlin has a massive 111 points, a tremendous lead over Robinson, Thatcher, Davis, Bowden and Paul Phillips. There was only a 9-point advantage for Peter Tyson in taking Class C from Bob Watson, Keith Norman, with equal 4th David Lees and Colin Mole, and then Mike Walker. The Class D results see Brian Robinson win from Jamie Maserati, Collins 3rd, Hogarth 4th, Bowden 5th, and in 6th place John Edwards. And so the immensely successful BF Goodrich Porsche Club Great Britain Championship comes to an end for 1989. But undoubtedly, there are bigger things ahead for 1990.